Forms. When you talk about forms in HTML, it is a means for capturing data. So sometimes you want to collect data from your users, so a form is the best way to go for, because that is the means for you to collect some data from your clients. Yeah. So in this segment, you're going to discuss about forms in details to understand what are some of the form elements. Now, when you talk about a form, what are some of the methods that are being used to pass data from from your form to the database, or how can you be able to transmit data from your form to the database? That's when you'll be able to talk about two main methods that you need to pay attention. That is the get and the post. Going further, we also talk about what is incorporated in a form in terms of the elements. What are some of the elements you're supposed to have in order for you to make sure that your website, your form stands out in this particular part. Yeah. Now, forms, they are used to create interactive websites. Okay. Forms are used to collect data from the users. I've already talked about that, and it's an easier way for users to communicate with the webmaster. So sometimes you want to get feedback from your clients on how the website interactivity is all about, and therefore a form is the best avenue for you to be able to get the right information from the user. Now, forms can also be used for different purposes. For example, it is used in educational sites, in research sites. It's used for online orders. You want to place an order online, you want to do online banking. All this information requires you to be captured in a form. Talk of the feedbacks, it has also been captured in a form. A form consists of different elements. We have what we call the text boxes. We have got the list box, the radio button, the checkbox, and also we have got the password field and the text area and the checkbox. Okay, just to mention a few. There are many others. We have the file upload element and so on and so forth. Okay, now when you start with the first tag, a form cannot be complete without a form tag. Like we said in our previous video, that we said that every time you want to create a table, you should always start with the table tag. The same applies to a form. Every time you want to create a form, make sure you start with the form tag. Now, this form tag can also have some attribute. This form tag should also have some attributes. The first attribute that is captured there is the name of that form. So the name of that form. The second one is the method. It specifies how the data form is going to be sent to the server. And that's why we talk about two options. We have what we call get. So when you talk about get, it sends data through as part of the URL. So with get, it sends the data as part of the URL, which is not secure. So it is just sent openly, and for example, you are sending something like a password, a login password. Maybe you are dealing with an online banking form, and then you realize that data is just sent naked to the database. It can lead to what we call SQL injection, and that's why you realize that it leads to a lot of hacking and maybe data loss in the process. And therefore, there is need for you to be able to apply the most secure means, and that is the post. Okay. Post is one of the secure means for you to send data to the database. Action. Now, when you click the send button or when you click the submit button, that action is just a page that is going to help us to process that request. Now, the page that you have put there is just meant to help us to process that request for storage of data to the server. Yeah. So in this space, you are going just to ensure that you put the table or a page that will enable you to capture the data that has just been collected from the user, and also send that same data to your database. Okay. Now, the first element that we are going to talk about. Okay. So let me just create a simple form. So we have said that a form should always have the name. So we can say that the name for this form is example. And then in this form, we're going to have the method also. And our method, we have said it is post. And then also something that should be captured in this form. We have realized that you can also be able to have action. So action determine the page where we can just say that data.php. So that is where the form is going to be acted upon. Now let's go in and then see other tags. Okay. Now The next thing that we are going to look at is the input type, text box. So text box is meant to collect the text items, okay, the strings. Okay, so if for example you're dealing with the first name, you're dealing with the second name, you can go to capture it inside this the text box. So for example, if I want to do that, I can just have a label. Let me have a label here, and then the label is first name. The first name is the label here, and then in this label we are going just to maybe put some, or maybe you can just put ahead of it, and then you just say input type, and then input type you can just say text, input text. Okay, other attribute that can be added there, we can have the name. You can have the name of that is first name. That's another attribute that can be put inside the input text, first name. You can also be able to use the ID. You can also be able to put in there the ID. The ID. And the ID here you can just say F name. That's the ID. And then you close that input text. So that input, the text box, when you want to use the text box, basically you specify the text box by using what? The text. Type is text. Now, for example, I want to use, I don't want to use text. I want to use maybe something like a number. So you're just supposed to change where we have the type to number. So for example, I want to add an age. Maybe I want to add the age. So what I need to do, maybe I can just copy this and then I paste it here. And the next thing that is just supposed to change is that age is. Okay, so I just want to change here. Okay, and then just say age. Just want to say age, and then age is a number, and therefore there's need for you to change it here to the number. And then you can just change the credential. You can just say num, and then you can say your ID is also num. So that is how you can be able to use the numbers and the text box. Okay, so if you use text, it means that it's a string. If you use number, it means you are expecting an integer type of text. The next element that we are going to look at, the next element here is the list box. Okay, you can as well be able to specify the maximum the maximum value. You can also be able to put the placeholders. So there are many aspects that you can be able to include here. You can also be able to add the placeholder. Okay, what is expected when enter text, enter first name. So that's the text that is going to be displayed there, enter first name. Okay, you can also be able to give the maximum length that you expect. You can also be able to say max length, you expect 80 characters, for example, 80 characters. So that's what is going to be expected in this case. And at the same time, you can also be able to put the number maximum length. It is not going to have any problem. You can put there 80 and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, so that's about the text, the text box and all the attributes that can be put in there. Okay. Going further, we have got example here, and I've already shown you. You can also be able to create a password field, and a password field can only be created by using what we call the type is equal to password. So why do you use password as the keyword? Is that it's going to change that character into hysterics. It's not going to display the characters itself. It is going to use hysterics. So if I, for example, I want to add some password, you can just say that we have got the name password. Just say password, and then inside there you can just type text is supposed to be password. Okay, and then you can just put pass as the name. You can just say pass, and then you can also say the ID to be pass, like that. So that's how you can go to incorporate the password field, and also you can be able to have confirmation of the password. So you can also be able to capture it using the same mechanism. So you can see here we have the example of the password and how it is going to be captured in this space. Another thing that you can go to add there is the radio button. So a radio button is used when the user has to come up with one option, okay, from multiple options. So you are just supposed to have the input a tag and should be set to radio. So you can see here we have the example that this is the input type is equal to radio, and the name is gender, and the value is male. Now we can be able to do the same, but there's something that you should be able to understand in this case, that every time you talk about the radio button, there are following attributes and can go along with it. We have the name, so specify the name of the radio button. So with the name, you specify the name of the radio button. Then we also have the value, so you can be able to specify the value for that radio button. Yeah, what value does it carry? Then we have checked, specify that the radio button is selected by default. So by so doing, you can go to specify that this has already been selected. So if I do that, let me just apply input type. Input type is equal to radio. So we have said something that you should put there is the name. The first thing that you should put there is the name. So the name of this radio button is you can say the name is cost, okay, and then we can say that the value of that cost, the first value is IT. For example, we can say IT. So we have been able to capture the name, and then we have also captured the cost, the cost itself. Yeah, so that is it. And then if in case this is the default, for example, I can just make sure that I write there checked, meaning that this is the default value that I should be able to have. And I can be able to copy this 2 and then 3. So in this case, you are going to select only one option. So the name is still the course. You can just say computer science. Okay, you can say computer science. And then you can say talk about library management. So those are the courses that is going to be taken, and then you can see checked is all over. So I just need one to be checked in this space. I can be able to preview and then check if there is any progress that I'm being made in this case. So you can see everything is well aligned, but now the problem is that all of it is appearing at one line. So I need to make sure that I separate them by using the BR. So just come here. Okay, so the first statement, the label is okay, but now I need to put some space between these two. So I need just to add here some break, some 2 breaks here to have enough space. You can see now the break has been added correctly there, and this is an integer, so that's why you can see it allows me to increment down, up and down. The same applies to the second the second one. You can also be able to apply the BR, so to create the spacing between the two. So you can see it has been created there. And then the next one is that you can also be able to place some text between those, the password and the radio buttons, like that. You can as well be able to add multiple space, so that you have got something like that. And here we can also be able to capture the label. So we can be able to put some label at the top here. You can just say label course done. Course done. So this one is supposed to be like your label at the top here. So just need to make sure you position it at the right place. So it should be at the top here. Let me just get rid of this first, and then I position it at the top here. So that's how you can go to add the label in that space. So if I just show the preview, you can see now my elements are well aligned in this case, and you can see we have said that this one is checked and this one is also checked. So you can see the way it is. This one is already checked in this space. Now going further, we also want to talk about the next button, that is the checkbox. Now when we talk about the element called checkbox, the checkbox can also be used to select options. So you use it to select options, and the user can choose one or multiple options. The difference between radio button and checkbox is that with the checkbox you can go to choose multiple options, but with the radio button you just choose one option at a time. That is what is all about in that space. And then you continue to the next part, and then you say that checkbox cannot be grouped even if the name is the same. So you cannot group a checkbox, but radio buttons can be grouped. But to insert the checkbox in the form, you need to have the type attribute value in. Okay, so type is supposed to be checkbox. Make sure that input type is equal to checkbox. Make sure you specify the name and the value that particular checkbox carries. Okay, so we have got examples here, but I just want to do one of our own. We continue down there. So we want to add another checkbox here. So we just say BR down there at the end of that. Then we have another BR to create space like that. Okay, so like that, and then you move further to the next part, and then you say input type equal to checkbox, and then the value, you're supposed to have the name first. So the name, you can say county. You can just say county, and then you can say that the value is equal to Nairobi. So that's the first value that has been already put there. And then we have the second option. So you can just copy this. I can also copy this, copy, and paste here. Then you can say county. We can use the same name, but now the value should be different. Of Kisumu. And then we can also talk of Eldoret. Yeah, like that. Eldoret. So what you have done in this case is that we have been able to create a checkbox. We have been able to create the checkbox, and this checkbox is meant to help us to select at least multiple counties that you have. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to add the label. Let's just say choose the preferred counties to work on in. Choose the preferred counties to work. Okay, so that is the label for that part. So if I save this and then I just go to my show preview, you should be able to see my options have already been set. So if I click, I can click all of them. I can check multiple checkbox or just a single checkbox. It's allowed in this space. Okay, so you can also be able to add some text in front there. After every checkbox, you can go to add the name. So the name is county, the value is there, that has been added. Okay, so you can as well be able to specify the name. For example, here you can say the name, just say label. You can just add some label there, and then you can say that this is Nairobi. Just say that this is Nairobi. So I can close it first. Then you can have your BR there. BR for breaking. and then you can also copy these and then add to the rest. Copy, add it here, and then change the county to Kisumu, and then you can have the last break, and then you can just say Eldoret. Okay, so that is it about the checkbox. If I show the preview, you realize that it has been arranged very much okay here. So you can see the Nairobi is still at the top there. I think it's because there is no break here, the break after the label that you just created. So by so doing, you can see everything has just been aligned perfectly in our database. Continue to the next in our web page. Continue to the next one. We have what we call the select field, or the compo list. It is used to provide predefined list of items to the user, and then the user can choose one or multiple options from the list depending with the type of the list. So in this case, when you talk about the compo list, it allows you to have the following attribute. We have got the name, the multiple, specify the multiple items that can be selected from the list, and at the same time by clicking the control key, so options that are going to be selected. Then you have the size. How many items are you going to display at a time? So is it one at a time? Is it two at a time? So you need to specify the size of that select box. And then the next thing that you need to do is that you need to have some attributes in the option tag, and in the option tag you can specify the value, and also you can specify the selected. Selected basically means specifies that the current item is selected and is the one that has been displayed in the current space. Okay, now we can be able to apply that. And you can see here we have the example, but I'm going to create my own here. Now in this space, again, that the name is subject and the size is equal to 4. So how many items are going to be displayed? 4 items at the same time. And then how many items can you select? Multiple items, by pressing the control key down, and then you just select multiple options. It is going to be allowed in this step. Okay, so let me just create a very simple select box, the same select box. So you just start with the keyword select. You start with the keyword select, and then inside there you can be able to specify now what you want, option, and then the option you can say some of the key. We have looked at some of the key attributes, and gone together with the select field is the name. So you can be able to specify the name of this compo list. You can just say the name for this compo list. You just write there the name equal to, and then you can say the name is the name, for example, can say that hobbies. Okay, so that's the name. And then another attribute that you can be able to add in your select box is the multiple. So by so doing, when you say multiple, for example, I just write there multiple, it implies that I have the right to choose multiple values. And then you can as well be able to specify the size of how many items are going to be displayed. So you can just say size, and then you can say equal to. So 2 items are going to be displayed at the same time. So in this case, we are going to say hobby, playing football. Another one is that you can just copy this like that, and then you can just paste down here, and then you can say maybe your second hobby is watching. You can just say that your second hobby is watching movies. Another option, you can just say we have got programming, for example, that is your hobby, programming. And then you can talk of design. So those are some of the hobbies that you can put in there. Now we have been able to capture the attributes that go together with the select, but there are some attributes that go together with this. So one of the attributes we have talked about, the value. So the value basically specifies football, for example, and then another thing that can go together with it is selected. So if I say selected, this one is the one that is going to be displayed, that it has been chosen. Okay, so if I run this, it should be able to give me the output with the football selected. Okay, let me save this, and then I go to my show preview. So you can see there are two options that have already been selected. That is by the use of size. So with size is giving us two options at a time, but when I scroll down, I can go to see multiple options. That's why it is like that. Now another thing that you should be able to observe keenly is that with the first option is selected, that's why you can see the grayish line or the grayish background on it, meaning that it has already been selected. For example, I do the same for this. I just say that the value here is watching for movies, and also we can see that it is also selected. Okay, so the moment I type that, you can see also this one has turned, the background has turned to be gray in color, meaning that it has already been selected. So that's how you can go to select an item in that in HTML using the select box, and that's how you can go to define the same. So you can also be able to put some label at the top here. So let me add some label. You can just close this and then add some label at the top. Then you can just say label, then you can just say hobbies, like that. Then you can have your BR like that. So by so doing, if I go to my show preview, you can see now the hobbies have already been added at the top there. Now the next thing that you can also be able to capture in your form is the text area. So the text area is used to get the length input. So the length input, maybe for example you're getting some feedback, some comment, so you give the opportunity for the user to give you all the information that is required in that space. Now with the text area, it has the following attributes. It has got the name, it has got the value, the rows, and the column. So when you talk about the name, specify the name of the text area. You talk about the value, it specifies the content of the text area. It talks about the rows, how many rows are going to be affected and how many columns are going to be affected. So for example, if I just copy this code here and then I go and paste it in this space here like that, so this is just going to give me the text area that I want. So this text area is called text, and the columns are 20 and the rows are 30. Automatically you can see it has already even appeared in that area. So you can see the text area has just appeared in that space. So you can just say that the label, you can give it a label like give us your feedback, give us your feedback here. So that is the text that should be displayed there, and then make sure you have the BR to take you to the next line like that. So you can see my text is at the top, and then my label is at the top, and then my text area is down here. So you can see we have specified the name of the text area, that is text, then the columns are 20 and then the rows are 20, and then you can go to put there the text that you want as your placeholder. So when I click here, I can be able to edit and then put whatever I want to put in that text area. Good. Last but not least, we talk about the buttons. Okay, we have got two types of buttons. We have what we call the submit button, we have got the clear button, the reset button, and then we have the normal button. So when you talk about submit button, is when you click on the submit button, it sends data to the form in the form fields to action attribute. Remember I talked about the action attribute. So every time you click on the submit button, it provokes or it invokes the action that you stated in the form tags at the top there. Okay, so this one is just meant to submit the data that has been entered in the form into the database, and therefore you need to have the action page that enable you to do that. Then you have the reset button. The reset button basically is mainly used to clear the content or the items that have been entered by the user in that space. Okay, and then you have the normal button. You are going to determine what that button is meant to do in that space. Okay, so we have got 3 buttons here already. So you can have a button, and then this button should have 2 attributes. The button is supposed to have the name, and then it should have the value. So if I copy this, so these are the names and the values, and then I just come and paste it down here. Maybe I can close this so that people you can go to see all that I'm talking about here. Okay, so I can add some BR here. Then now you can be able to add all the input types. So you can say that input type is equal to submit, and the name for this is submit button, and the value is click to submit. So if I save this and then I go to show preview, you can see how it is. Okay, so there's some things that are not exactly well set. That's why you can see it is just click on me. So let me see what the error is here. So I've just maybe I can just type it from scratch, and then you can see how it is going to look like. We just say name, and then you can say the name. You can just say submit. Maybe that is the name that is going to be given there, and then you can also have the value, and then the value they have said, for example in this case they're saying that the value is click to submit. So maybe you can say, just say that the value that is going to be displayed on top of that is that happy coding. Okay, so that's the text that is going to be typed at the top of the button, the value that you just entered at the top there. So that is it about the submit button. So when somebody click on the submit button, you send data to the database. Now I can highlight this, copy, and then I can also be able to paste it here. So let me just save it and then paste. So I just want to paste it down here like that. So the moment I do that, this one is a reset. So when you talk of reset, it means that every data that has been entered there is going to be cleared once you click on that button, and then you can change the value to be clear. Change the value to clear like that. So you can see the options have already been added, and that's how you can go to add the form buttons. So that is what happens at the end of that form like that. Good. So you have your form. You can see how your form is going to look like. So we can just say first .html, okay. So let me run this on the web browser so you can go to see how clearly it is going to look like. I think I've not saved it, that's why it is not displaying the changes that I've just made. Good. So you can see this is just a website, or this is just a form, a simple form that has been created using the HTML, and therefore you can go to make, or you can go to enhance the appearance of this web page by using, or this form by using CSS. That is something that you're going to learn as we go further. So thank you so much for watching. Kindly go through each and every part that you've been able to cover. The main essence of having this tutorial is just to give you a way to understand some of the form elements that are used in a form. Bye bye for now.